Good morning, everybody. So we are Hélène and Pauline. So we are both PhD students, and we're going to present you today our study about a redistribution of practice of creation. So we are here in University Jean-Monnet, and Hélène Lathoud has a background more in history of art, and she's working with Revolve for her PhD. And I'm more working with MOSAIC, and I'm a practitioner in arts and crafts. So our context is a modeling workshop. So the modeling workshop is a place with it essential in the creation process. So they create and produce molds and models, and after that there is a strong craftsmanship characteristics. So there is traditional know-how, there are technical and manual expertise. So there is a long and specific apprenticeship in the modeling workshop. So there is an individual transmission that is very important in the modeling workshop. And so the practice of creation has evolved. And this is our study today. So there is an increasing competitiveness about the creation. And there is also factory countries in emergency, so there is more competitive and distinctive challenges in the market. So there is an increased capacity of production and an added value to products that is very important today and impact the creation. So when you think about creation, there is each detail that is touched. So the shapes, the materials, the technologies, and for example, the imagination, the story of objects, all of that is impact. And so the identity of the object is very important. So by identity, we here to recognize and to characterize the objects. So creation becomes a strategic issue. So it evolved to meet new market expectations, and also it brings other expertise areas. So we have design and we have innovation in a point of view of technical part. So there is a juxtaposition of expertise. So we have the modeling workshop, design and innovation about a technical point of view. And that's why we have today a redistribution of practice of creation. And this is what we would like to study with Manufactory Revolve, a porcelain manufactory that we're going to present you. So Revolve has 255 years of existence, and they are specialized for tableware for professional. So they work porcelain, and they prepare, for example, pastes, enamels. They have all different workshops. It's a family-run business, and they have 280 people employed, and they sell around 4 million products per year in 85 countries, different countries. So this is very important, and we see that the manufactory is between an industrial production and a traditional know-how, and you have some tension about the creative part about that. So here on the map, you can see the different workshops. So here from the preparation of pastes, enameling, the finishing with a kiln. And yes, for that, Hélène in the study collect data from September 2022 since March from this year. And we have around 18 hours of interview, 800 photos and 100 videos for that. And all the data were analyzed in a qualitative methodology. And yes, and this was interpretative, like in an empirical methodology. So first, Hélène going to present you more the modeling workshop, after more the different expertise of area, and to finish, we're going to show you the redistribution thing, so the interaction between all these different parts of area. Yes, So thank you.
So firstly, I would apologize for my English, and I have to sit down to be near my paper. The first point that we want to present you is the focus on the modeling workshop as a craft practice at the heart of creation. It's important to represent us that the job of modeler involves creating and making a mold by hand. This must be able to anticipate the reaction of the material as it evolves at each stage of the production. Its artisanal characteristics and its essential place in the creative process illustrate the specific creative practice of modeling. Modeling is a craft of excellence. It requires both a detailed knowledge of the material and a high degree of precision to ensure that the finished pieces are uniform, are of high quality, and in line with the customer's requirements. Modern technologies are used, but the craft aspect of the trade is predominant. Craftsmanship is necessary to master traditional modeling techniques, like burial, like counter-modeling, or plaster turning, for example, to create and produce models and models. It is really the repetition of the same gesture, the time needed to experience, that allows this traditional know-how specific to the trade to be acquired. This know-how is essential to the craftsman's job well done, as illustrated by Charles Péguy. It is more difficult to acquire them than to be able to use computer-aided design software, which is also required. These are very few training programs for modelers that also contribute to its rarity. Another characteristic of this artisanal expertise lies in the individual aspect of its practice. Craft is practiced on an individual basis. Within the workshop, each craftsman develops a preference for one or another of the possible techniques. The work is organized in a way to respect each person's specificities, and projects are carried out on an individual basis and are therefore not replaceable. The characteristic questions of arts professions are therefore a rise of the modeler's trade. In particular, those of transmission of this individual expertise, or the evolution of the trade in face of new technologies. All these characteristics give the modeling workshop its full essence, with all the peculiarities of excellence profession. This profession is difficult to interchange or share, which confirms the specific artisanal practice of the creation in this workshop. This excellence craft know-how is essential to the factory and its practice of creation. The importance of the link between the modeler's trade and the creation is historical. Until 2016, the modeling workshop was the place of the creation inside the factory. The chief modeler played the role of designer because before their use were structured through the creation of the lab design in the factory. This is how the crumbled cup, the emblematic pieces of the factory, became being in 2001. The design of the object resulted from a bilateral discussion between management, which results in general management and head of marketing, and directly with the chief modeler. These discussions were directly translated into a prototype without any drawings, and the early stages of conception and creation were thus shared directly between management and the modeling workshop. The drawing stages were almost non-existent, and three-dimensional techniques were very rarely used. But this situation is set to change Today, new experts are involved in creation, and the modeling workshop must not only share its places with creative practice, but with other experts, and has also to engage dialogue with these new expertises. The second point we want to explain you focuses on the evolution through an expanded and shared creation practice among multiple expertises. To respond to growing economic constraints, the manufacturing industry must increase production quantities while enhancing the aesthetic, the technical, the functional qualities of its products. Creation becomes strategic, and factory will organize itself to expand its traditional know-how to new areas of expertise. Technical innovation, which lead a new way of seeking material, and design are two new axes of expertise. They broaden the scope of creation and interact with the modeling workshop in its practice of creation. The work on material takes a new importance. Thus, a research and development department is created in 2010. Responsible of technical innovation, it rethinks the specific characteristics of clay. In addition to white porcelain, new clays are created, like induction-compatible clay, black clay, blue clay, or recycled wine clay. The aim of this work is really a creative work, a creative approach to push the material into its limit, to allow it to offer new possibilities, succeed in making it know in a new light. The purpose is to add technical, creative, and aesthetic and functional value to this object, while meeting the technical constraints of the market. The acceleration of this research on material clearly illustrates the acquisition of a new know-how, a technical expertise which is not related to artisanal practice. The Research and Development Department works closely with the modeling workshop to explain and anticipate the various reactions of each of these materials throughout the production process. At the same time, the creation of the lab design in 2016 marks a new evolution in the practice of creation. Led by designers, hired by the company at the same time, the lab design is a space for inspiration and creation to produce, to make, to test, to create, and exchange ideas. The lab design is also a decision-making body, made up of the different areas of expertise newly integrated into the factory, with design, but also research and department, marketing, and artistic direction. This body initiates, conceptualizes, discusses, manages, and decides on all the technical peculiarities, functions, forms, finishes, and textures of the new object created. This new organization is strategic in the development of the renewal of creation. It marks the presence of the design function internally in the company and allows the link between technical innovation and traditional expertise through special attention to shapes, textures, and finishes. The presence of lab design also encourages external designers to come and work with, speeding up collaboration and opening up new fields of creation. Initially linked to traditional know-how, creation is now interacts with a variety of expertise. Depending on the projects and on subjects, the designer or the research and development department then liaises with the modeling workshop to specify the project, to conceive which is conceived by the lab design, and to check its feasibility and anticipate the constraints involved. The lab design, through its organization, shifts and shares the decision-making process. In the past, decisions were taken directly by the modeling workshop and management. Today, they are taken by lab design, which means that they are chaired by the design, by the research and development, by the marketing, and by the artistic management teams. So in this part, we would like to reveal how a new creation is characterized and organized within an art factory. While historically, the modeling workshop was the main interlocutor for management to exchange ideas for conception and leads creation, the modeling workshop is now outside of the decision-making process. It is consulted in the second instance. After that, the lab design's various experts have agreed on a creation principle. As it is shared among several complementary expertise, technical know-how, design, and traditional know-how, this new practice necessitates a new organization and generates a renewed creation. It does not diminish the value of the modeler's craft. On the contrary, it nourishes with a diversity source of inspiration. The modeling workshop's proximity to decision-making process and artistic direction is not longer the same. The workshop only intervenes in the creation process after the design lab has made the decision, only once the object's design principle has been established. The modeling workshop is called upon just after this stage to check the project's feasibility and anticipate production specificities. It no longer holds the same position. The practice of creation has become more shared, distributed among different and complementary expertises, serving a higher quality product. The multiplicity of expertises expands the scope of creation. Traditionally rooted in a traditional know-how, it now incorporates a technical innovation, expertise in the object, its functions, its finishes, through integrated design expertise. In the end, the modeler's trade itself has not changed. The work retains the same expertise, the same value of excellence, and the same strong artisanal characteristics. The role of modeling workshop may be less central to the creative process, but new dialogues generated by this new organization is a major contribution to the renewal of this profession. These new interactions with research and development and design bring new technical challenges and new aesthetic inspiration. The constant dialogue with these areas of expertise allows the profession to renew itself and provides opportunity for novelties, highlighting and updating the creative practice of modeling profession.
Okay. So, to conclude, there is the new demands of the markets organize a new creative strategy. So you have the specific and individual practice of creation, which go to a broader and shared practice of creation in this redistribution. So it is distributed across several areas of expertise, and so it doesn't devaluating traditional skills, but it's just a renew of practice. So this evolution is a response of this context of transition, and it is a response to the art manufacturing sector. So this proposition, this study can maybe, or it's more the evolution that can be transferred or extended to the model of other manufacturing art sector. In the model, it can be more widely extended. So for finishing, this study enlightened a theoretical work between art history and design. So that's how we end. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for this presentation. So now we will continue with the question phase.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question about the work of designer now in the manufacture, and does they use the traditional pattern to create and to mix old pattern and new inspiration?
I think that the strategy of creation, led by the artistic direction in the factory, is really open. And when they meet a designer, they say, come and visit our factory and let's inspired by what we are. See all the very old collection, but how we work today. Discuss with all the workers of the factory. Let's inspire and take time. And for 255 years, we have time. That is really something important and structural for the creative practice or strategy. So to respond more clearly to your question, I think that they are inspired. For example, Noé Duchaufour-Laurence make a collection which is inspired for a circle, because the circle is the form for turning pottery, but also what we see now in the factory with the machine that are emailing the produce, and the circle is everywhere. So it's traditional but also contemporary.
Thank you so much. I was wondering how many modelists do you have in Revol now? Was there a cut in how many people you had before? Now that you have the design lab, in fact, do you have less modelers than before?
That's a good question. Before there were 2 modelers, and now because of the preoccupation of transmissions and the rarity of the training, they anticipate the transmissions, and nowadays there are 3 people working at the modeling studio.
Thank you very much for interesting presentation. I was wondering, while the sort of setup was changed inside the company after 2016, what was the internal reaction, if you have an idea of, like, for example, people from the modeling workshop, how did they react to this change before being like the starting point of creation and afterwards being somehow ending up in the third area?
I think that individual reaction. I think that maybe the former chef modeler that I didn't met, maybe he was a little bit blessed. But nowadays, I think that the work is totally different and renewed each time, and that is very important to like his job and to say that is marvelous inspiration. Okay, we are not we do not take part of the creation decision, but our job every day is new, and we have former discussions that is really important for us.
Yes, and when we visit the manufactory together, it was interesting because a modeler craftsman said he is not a creator. He interacts with them and he advises designers, but he said he didn't sign the pieces, so he's not a creator. Yes, so for him there is no creation in his work.
Sorry, I forgot. A lot of curiosity. Like in the research and development department, what kind of staff people are there? Like, are there people with PhDs? Are there like a design background? Yeah, because they're now on the first lead.
There are engineering in ceramics and former PhD also.
Thank you. The same question. Have they contact with universities or external laboratory?
that's a very big project that I would like to implement in the factory. But the background of one of the two people that belongs to the research and development is a PhD, and she's from her Limoges school, so they are parallel with Limoges. But now that University of Saint-Étienne is in the factory, we hope to make more bridge between university and the factory.
Thank you very much. I have a question based on the previous one, talking about the contacts with university. And going further, do you imagine potential contacts with other kinds of educational centers, like vocational education? Because I understand that there is a lot of investment when you create a research and development unit inside a company. And I also understand that this is meant to have a return on investment for the company. So a lot of the results must remain confidential, I imagine. But it's a bit of a contrast for me, not a paradox, but a contrast with what Marlene was saying about the ecosystemic approach. How can education in general benefit from your research and development results?
I think that the confidential part is not so big, and the factory is really open. But I think that there is a very big challenge with training because of the question of preservation, the know-how. And that is maybe a further project for the factory to build a school inside the factory or without outside training. But better on the know-how preservation, that innovation is not so confidential, I think.
We were talking yesterday at the dinner, and you told me that you have had some interviews and some quality research about how the porcelain is being produced, and I guess you treat it as a part of the heritage as well, right? And this is kind of material, tangible and intangible heritage. And my question is also, do you make any kind of those research according to cooperation with designers about the so-called embodied knowledge which people working in the crafts have? They know how to behave, how to, their body is just being used to some movements which help to produce some products. And do you also in your heritage department treat this kind of intangible heritage and intangible knowledge as a resource for future development?
That's a very good question and also a very good project, I think. But nowadays in the heritage department we are only 3. That is quite good. But we have the first thing we have to do is to collect the objects, the photography, all the tools that they are used, all the molds, and that is quite a good stuff. And then we effectively made interviews. And I think that all the gesture and all the compartment has to be sold and conserved. But now we are not ready, I think, to do that. But that will be important to do.
Totally different question, but I was wondering, how do you choose the designers that work, the external designers that works in the design lab? Do you contact them or do they contact you? Because Revol is a famous factory, right? At least in France and abroad. How does it work?
It's. I think that the factory is not the management team is very tight. The self part of each is important, and the artistic direction is made of one people. And if he likes transmitting and sharing everything, I think that it is also an individual meeting between two people, and that is how he explained me this question. So I think sometimes it is in every formal or informal meeting, the talent of the designer is very important, but the way he will inspire and be able to investigate the project and the factory is the most part of the work, and how it meets and fits between the factory and the designer.